Hey guys, welcome to part 3 of effective listening here on Ask a Catholic Therapist. So in this episode, we want to talk a little bit about how to help children learn to listen. Part 1 was all about tips and tricks for listening better ourselves. Part 2 was about obstacles to listening well. Now part 3 is how do we help children learn to listen well? The first thing I want to say about this is a common mistake parents make. One of the biggest mistakes parents make is we assume that children are just miniature adults. That is, we assume that they have all of the advanced capacities that we have, like emotion regulation, attention, language, cognitive processing that we have, but they're just in little bodies. And that's not true. Children's capacities for language, emotion regulation, paying attention, develop and unfold as their brain develops. And so the first thing we have to appreciate is that there are certain things kids are going to struggle at simply because their brain is developing and they don't have the fullness of those capacities yet developed. I think our job as parents is to help these children, help our children, take the capacities that are unfolding and train them, guide them, and grow them so that they can function to the fullest extent possible as they unfold, right? As they develop. But one way we set ourselves up for frustration is when we assume that our kids can do everything we can do. They're just in small bodies. And this is a recipe for serious resentment, because a 3-year-old cannot listen as well as a 6-year-old, cannot listen as well as a 10-year-old, cannot listen as well as a 15-year-old. Part of that is just their ability to pay attention. Part of that is their ability to process thoughts. Part of that is language ability, the ability to understand more complex ideas and topics and to be held and engaged by language more. So we need to appreciate that first and foremost, I think. But how do we help our kids listen better? The first is modeling. A word about modeling. Modeling is when we act the way we want our children to act. So if I want my child to listen to me well, it's really helpful when I show them what it is to listen well in my engagement with them. I don't want to overstate this, but I think it's true that children tend to learn much more from what we do than what we say, especially young children. Kids are constantly watching us for how to be in the world, how to act, how to engage, how to relate, how to be. They're watching us, and they'll imitate that. So if I want my child to learn to listen well, how I engage them is important, and how I engage their siblings, how I engage their other parent is really important. They see me stop what I'm doing, slow down, look at the person in the eyes, open my body posture, ask questions that show that I'm engaged and interested. Do they see me giving that person the fullness of my attention? Or am I distracted? Am I doing something else? They're gonna pick up on this, and they're gonna imitate this. They're gonna watch what I do as a model for them, and they're most likely gonna imitate that. So the first is modeling. When I come home from work, I'm tired, I'm hungry, sometimes there's a lot going on, and when my kids start telling me about their day, it's really easy for me to be cooking while I'm trying to listen and kind of be dismissive, right? Be in my head, thinking about something else. If I want to teach my sons and daughters how to listen well, it's important for me to stop what I'm doing, look at them in the eyes, maybe even get down on their level, and ask questions that show I'm engaged, give them eye contact, give them attention. Model this for your children. Super important. The second thing is teach them. What I mean by that is it's really easy, again, when I come home from work or on the weekends when I want to relax, to hear my kids not interacting well, to hear them be dismissive of one another and not listen, and to just say, hey, listen to your brother. Hey, you're not paying attention. Rather than actually stopping the unhealthy interaction and being a coach or a teacher and saying, hey, I heard your brother asking you a question, but I see that you're playing with your Legos. Hey, what do you think you could do to show your brother that you're listening? How do you think he's feeling when you're playing with your Legos while he's trying to talk to you? Well, Dad, I bet he's feeling maybe angry and sad. Yeah, I bet he is too. So what do you think we could do to show him that we're listening? I wonder what would happen if you put your Legos down and looked at them, right? And then I coach the moment. I say, okay, Benedict, tell your brother what you were telling him before. And Benedict will start telling him, and I say, Ali, now you're looking at your brother, that's really good. How does he know that you're hearing him? What might you ask him, or what might you say to him that shows him that you're listening deeply? And he'll say, hey Ben, did you say that you want to borrow this Lego piece? Or hey Ben, it sounds like you really want to switch games and play something outside instead. I'll say, yeah, that's really good. That shows him that you're listening deeply. That was a really good summary of what he said, Oliver. And so I coach the moment, I teach the moment. Rather than, just trying to discipline it away. Hey, Oliver, you're not listening. Listen to your brother. I show him and coach him what good listening looks like. What's the problem with this? What's the problem with modeling? What's the problem with teaching? The problem is it takes time, it takes effort, and it takes energy. And we're busy. And we're stressed. And we have a lot of things going on in our lives. And so that's okay. We're not going to get this right 100% of the time. We don't have to be perfect with it. The point is that it's on our radar. The point is that we're thinking about it. The point is that when we can, we try to be good models. And when we can, we slow our lives down and we try to be teachers and coaches in the moment. It's much more effective to teach a child in the moment than it is to try to stop and talk about something that happened earlier in the day, especially the younger the child is. To say, hey, earlier you weren't listening to your brother. For, a 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old, that's tough. But to stop them in the moment and say, hey, what could we do? Hey, your little sister's trying to get your attention, but you're talking over her. Do you think you could slow down and maybe get down on her level to let her know you're watching? What would happen if you do that? Let's see, right? And to coach it in the moment, that's effective, and kids learn really well that way. So you don't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, exact all the time. But keep those in mind. Modeling and coaching or teaching in the moment are great ways to help your kids learn. And above all, remember that as you're doing this time and time again, repetition, practice, the reason you have to repeat and practice is because their little brains are developing. And these underlying capacities that allow them to listen well, language, attention, emotion regulation, these things are unfolding as their brain develops. What you're giving them is practice in real time as their brain is developing. And that's what will help them ultimately become really good listeners. Don't get frustrated or discouraged if it takes time, because it will. Don't get frustrated or discouraged if you have to do it over and over and over, because you will. But that's okay, because in the end, you'll have kids who end up being really good listeners. So, I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope it was helpful. I hope you can also see, I'm noticing the better video here. I splurged and got a decent camera in the hopes that this channel's quality will improve a bit. So I'm going to keep improving, getting better microphones, and I got some lighting. So hopefully this fun little project will just keep getting better. So this is the vacation edition. The boring bookshelf isn't behind me. We're out in the country for a few days, spending time with family, which has just been great and blessed. But I wanted to get this last video out on effective listening. Stay tuned. More content coming next week. If you have any questions, askacatholictherapist@gmail.com. Keep those questions coming, y'all.